Welcome. Today we are live from Bermuda Dunes in Southern California and Northern California by Oakmont and Santa Rosa. Today we have a special guest on the show. Her name is Heather Drew. She is a longtime LPGA member. She joined the LPGA Tour in 1983. She joined the teaching division in 2011 and is currently retired, but still involved in the game, playing golf on the Legends Tour when the opportunity arises, and staying involved in the game. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's great to be here.
So today we want to find out a little bit more about you. So tell us, first of all, how did you get started in golf?
Probably like a lot of our members and many golfers across the world. My dad was a good player, and I was a natural athlete as a kid, and he got me started at a pretty early age. I was about 9 or 10 when I started playing, and that was back in St. Louis. And I took to it like a fish to water, and it was really great. I have 3 older brothers, and I was able to have Sundays with our dad because I played golf and they didn't. And so it was a pretty special time. And my mom also played. She was not a very good golfer, but really enjoyed the game. So I got to spend a lot of extra time with my parents, which I value a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's pretty similar to myself too. Was get out of the house on Sundays and play golf with my sister. How did you go from playing casually on Sundays with your dad to becoming, a player at University of Arizona and then, getting on tour?
Okay. I think that first of all, I just really loved golf for starters. It was so challenging, unlike a lot of other sports that I'd played, and one thing that I really appreciated is that I could play it by myself. You didn't need to gather a few people to play, maybe baseball or, some other kinds of games where you need other people. I mean, I could just have my parents drop me off at a golf, the local muni, and the next thing you know, I'm playing 18 holes by myself, and it was awesome. And I think that, I didn't have a very, it wasn't a standout amateur career, but it was just kind of steady. And I was a scholarship athlete at University of Arizona and really enjoyed my time there. Still friends with a number of people on my team. And then, luckily just the stars aligned in a qualifying school, and I got my card in 1983 on my 4th try. And I played for 16 years.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I played for a few years, but not 16 years. And I know that, when you're playing, you have to find a reason to stay engaged and keep going. So what helped you during that time? Apart from loving the game.
yeah, that's an excellent question because, I think anyone who plays golf, at a high level struggles sometimes. I think that golf can be pretty mean. It's hard on your psyche. And I think you just have to keep remembering why it is you're doing what you're doing. And for me, it was like challenging myself on a regular basis. And I did go through some low times in my career, and then managed to sort of dip back out of that. And but I think for me, what kept me motivated was just the ability that every day was a new day. Every day I could do better than I did yesterday, or last week, or last year. And I think I don't think I've ever been one to back down from a challenge.
No, that's not how I see you.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
No, it's a great thing. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think it's so easy to play golf and get really down on yourself. So I can really appreciate like finding your reason to play, like how that really kind of helps you stay engaged and keep going when it's up and down.
Yeah.
And I know you had a kind of special transition because you maybe not from your own choice per se necessarily, but I know you've transitioned from playing to caddying. So tell us a little bit about that and why that happened.
Okay. well, I'm going to back up a little bit because I played until 1999. That was the year that I retired. But in 1996, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I didn't tell anybody for a number of years about it. I mean, my close friends and of course my family knew, but it wasn't something that I really openly discussed. And I didn't go on any medication. There weren't that many available. And finally, I'd had a couple of episodes, and my doctor and I decided it was really time for me to go on some medication. And then so it sort of dovetailed with me retiring from playing. And I didn't retire from competitive, from the LPGA because of the MS. I just did it because everybody who was coming out, was 5'10", hit the ball, 40 yards farther than I ever could in my entire life. And, it was just time. It was time for me to do that. And I had to make a choice about, I use this sometimes just as an example that when most people retire from their jobs, they take up golf. And as a golfer, when you retire, you've got to find a job. So we've got it backwards somehow. And, what I really loved, again, going back to my previous answer about, what kept me, how did I keep myself, my head in the game? And I love the competitive atmosphere. I love, getting to a tournament, any tournament, and the ropes are up and the tents are up, and, it's a really exciting atmosphere. And I just thought, well, maybe, I could stay, maybe I could caddy, maybe I could stay in the game, but in a different role. And so I started caddying in 2000. So, I retired in 99 and then picked it up in 2000 in the spring of 2000. And I did that for 11 years and full time. And it was great. I shocked myself at how much I loved it. I mean, I loved everything about it. I mean, primarily helping somebody else maybe do the thing that I couldn't do, which was win on tour. And getting to know, I mean, you have to be able to manage people. You got to know who your player is, and how to get her out of a bad mood, how to make sure she's not getting down on herself. All the things that we do for ourselves, sometimes not as well as we can do for somebody else, right? So
absolutely,
I really enjoyed it, and I still will caddy. Today occasionally, mostly on the Legends Tour. If I don't get into an event, I'll go and I'll caddy.
I know you caddied for...
Yeah, Maura Dunn, Heather Bowie, and Michelle Estill, Allison Finney. I started with Allison. I caddied a little bit for Dawn Coe-Jones. Here and there, I've caddied a little bit for Nancy Harvey. Fortunately for me, I was lucky. I was able to have long time commitments, which was nice. I enjoyed that. I didn't have to hop around very much.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think a caddy is even more useful when you have a long time commitment and relationship, because somebody who just caddies for you a tournament or two, they don't really get to know you that well or your game that well. And I was going to ask you too, and I'm sure you have a good answer for this. And you've already talked about it a little bit, but what do you, can you tell us a couple of times when you were really able to make a difference for somebody out there, and what you did?
I waved my magic wand.
I know, right? You just tapped it.
Also, I've known each other for a really long time, obviously. And so I knew I didn't have to really learn her game when I was caddying for her. I mean, I already knew it very well. And we were playing at an event in New York City at Waikiki Country Club, really old time, New York, beautiful golf course, hard. And she managed to find herself in the lead after 2 days. And then we had a rain out on Saturday. So it's like you went like, oh no, that's just not, we don't need a rain out right now. I mean, unless it's a total washout, then we're going, yeah, that's great. Yay. Yeah, it's like, oh, sweet. But I think that managing her on that Saturday, trying to keep her, focused but not obsessed, engaged without being like too nervous. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember we went to a movie, we just did a lot of different, like just little stuff to do. And then during the round, the third round, which would end up being the final round, we were obviously in the last group playing with Annika and Rosie Jones. And, you know, I mean, those two heavy hitters at that time in their careers, big time. And, you know, so Allison, I mean, I was nervous. You know, I was, you know, truth be told, I was nervous as well. And, you know, I just had to keep talking with Allison and keep engaging her in the process of what we were doing and not getting ahead of herself. You know, I mean, you can't predict what you're going to do on the 15th hole when you're standing on the second tee box, right? You have to be on the second tee box. You can't worry about a hole that you have trouble with. You know, I mean, we all do it. Believe me, you know, I still do it, even though I know you shouldn't do that. But, you know, as a caddy, was more important and more my job to really keep her, you know, in that time frame of where we were right then in the round. And so we just did a lot of, you know, talking, and I kept her kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say it's, you know, like I will say Annika and Rosie are not, you know, excessively chatty on the golf course during an event. So, you know, there's not a lot of chit chat going on in the group. So, I mean, I just, you know, Alice and I just kind of kept doing our thing and admiring the beautiful golf course and understanding the moment, like, you know, how big it was. And she had an opportunity to win, and Annika pulled off 2 amazing birdies on 17 and 18, and she walked off with the trophy. But we walked off with a really great experience.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. I like that.
Yeah. It was fun. It's one of my favorite memories, I tell you that. And it was kind of funny. So it was it's the JAL, Japanese Airlines was the major sponsor. So Allison had a really good year in 2000. And so we got to go to Japan, play in the events over there. So, you know, we're flying on JAL. And of course the players are up in first class, and, you know, I'm back in the back of the plane with everybody else. And, but there's TVs were just starting on the planes. And so they kept replaying the final round of the tournament. And all the players are like, you know, they're looking at us like, oh, come on, you were supposed to make that putt. We kept thinking you were going to make that putt. So it's kind of funny that it's like Allison's on the plane and they're showing her playing. So it's kind of funny. I mean, it's just one of those weird little funny things that happens.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit more. You mentioned you have MS. I didn't know about that. So tell me, what are the things that you had to adjust to? Because I know that, I mean, I know people who have MS and they can certainly not play golf.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about that and share what you've been through.
Okay, yeah. So I have a type of MS called relapsing remitting. And so it is exactly what it sounds like. I mean, I have, you know, episodes, and then, you know, then I get better, and hopefully I can, you know, well, I should say, knock on wood, every time I've had an episode, I have been able to come back to full capacity, which I'm thankful and very lucky that that's how my MS story has gone. And I think that what was great was that when I started caddying, you know, part of the thing, you know, like the thing that I hammer to other people when I'm talking to people with MS is, you know, you've got to have a healthy diet. You have to exercise, you know, and you got to find something you love to do. And so for me, I was really able to talk about the exercise part, especially when I was caddying, because caddying is huge. It is so much exercise. I could not believe the kind of exercise, you know, I was getting. I didn't realize how hard it was, honestly.
Those bags are crazy heavy.
They are. And, you know, I mean, when it's bad weather and it's, oh, here comes the umbrella, then you got a couple of towels and the rain gear, you know, and it'd be like, oh boy, this is going to be hard. And I was able to really get into really good shape caddying. And thankfully, that sort of changed my mindset in terms of how I do and feel about my own exercise. I mean, I came by it just because I was caddying. You know, now I actually actively exercise, you know, for a point of staying in good shape. And I just, you know, when I talk to people with MS, you know, it's hard. I mean, everybody's story is different. And the only thing that I can convey is, you know, what I've done, how I've dealt with having it, And, I can't tell anybody what to do. I mean, I can show by example. I can't, when I do talk to people, I say, please don't try caddying. I wouldn't recommend that for anybody, but you've got to find something that's going to, motivate you and get you, whether it's going to the gym or whether it's like going on walks with your friends. There's all kinds of different kinds of exercise. And I think that I hope that people take from me that I have a pretty positive attitude about life in general. I have a positive attitude about my MS, sometimes maybe not about my golf, but I work on that on a regular basis. But I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that in a long-winded way, that's it.
No, I think that's a great answer. I'm curious what kind of exercise you do.
So I really, for some reason, I really enjoy weightlifting a lot. I love challenging myself because it's something you can really measure. It's a lot like golf. I mean, you can totally measure. It's like if you're doing chest presses, and 2 weeks ago you were doing X and now you've jumped it up. I mean, you can actually see definitively that you're making progress. And I really like that. And I think that it fits in with my kind of like the golf head, where that you need to see what's happening and you got to see if you're making progress. And also, we started a dog walking business a couple of years ago. So my Fitbit goes like off the charts. So I do a lot of walking also. And I've got a bike. I ride my bike. Not as often as I like. I get more bike riding done in the summer when I'm out of the desert. But those are the few things that I like to do. I mean, definitely would be weightlifting, mass walking and bike riding and hiking. I mean, obviously here, you've been to the desert. It's hiking paradise. So I do like.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I was fortunate to go to Joshua Tree 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. I loved it. It was spectacular.
I know, it's like otherworldly. If anybody who's listening to this, if you haven't been to Joshua Tree and you're down here, make it a point.
Yeah, the other cool place I really liked was the Living Desert.
Yeah, definitely. They've got a couple of really nice hikes in there too. You can hike up Mount Eisenhower, and pretty cool. You can overlook a couple of golf courses. You can see El Dorado, the reserve. Maybe there's another one too. I can't think of it right offhand, but
yeah, I went there. I thought it was going to be one of those places that you're kind of in and out of in an hour, and you could actually be here for maybe 3 or 4 hours, not just an hour. So that was a nice surprise. They have some really cool animals that are unusual, and the leopard is
yes,
or the leopard family, maybe I should say. They're amazing.
Yeah, it's really neat. That's one of the kind of a cool thing. Big tourist destination, when people come into the Palm Springs area, they like to go there.
Yeah. Well, cool. Let's see. One other question I had was, and I'm always curious to hear this because you've, obviously been around the game for a long time and you have your own personal experience of playing both on the LPGA Tour and on the Legends Tour. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, you said earlier that, you retired because everybody was hitting it so much further and all of this. And I kind of see the same thing. That's the trend still right now, that everybody's hitting it pretty far.
Yes.
And I think the trend is probably even bigger on the PGA Tour, where there's a massive advantage, and you see kind of the older players really being at a disadvantage. So I'm curious to hear, like, what do you think about the LPGA Tour now?
I mean, it's pretty exciting. I mean, exactly what you're saying. I mean, these girls. I mean, just we've all played golf for a long time, and with the equipment, the ball, their height and their size, and the fact that like now with all sports now, I mean, there's so much like it's sports specific training. You're really working on the things that are going to improve, your for golfers, our flexibility, certain kinds of strength. I mean, you don't want to be bulky, right? And I think the LPGA, it's really exciting. I mean, I like watching those guys. What I like, let's say here, is going out to the ANA Inspiration, I mean, I played when it was the Dinah Shore, I played it for 7 years. So it's like I have a relative perspective, like, okay, I hit it here, and then I watch them, I go, oh boy, okay. I mean, because now today they're like 60 yards farther than where I was. And it's amazing. I mean, like Lexi and Brittany, Yanni Singh, all just, I can't think of, I mean, I'm drawing a blank, but they are amazing. And even to me, what's so surprising is to see somebody who is like my height. I'm about 5'4.5" or so. I like to claim 5'5", but I don't think I'm there. And it's somebody of my height that can really bomb it out there. I mean, it's just impressive, and I think it's fun. And I'm sorry that the girls, on the tour don't get as much exposure, as our counterparts.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I have the same feeling like watching the Mission Hills tournament, because I played qualifying school there too, and I relate to that course as well. And I'm just like, wow,
I know. You
just cut that corner.
Totally. I watch where they tee off like on 18, and it's like, I mean, I'm like way away from the water. I'm like, like 2 palm trees, on the bunker, and they're just taking it right over the water. They're taking it right over those palm trees that border the water. I'm like, wow. And I think the other hole too, 17. I mean, I think, I don't know, we were hitting like 4 irons and 5 irons in there. And I think they're hitting like 7 and 8 irons in there now from the same tee box.
Yeah, which is really crazy because that hole is still long. And that green isn't like the easiest green to hit either.
Not at all. And if that pin is on the front, you better not be flirting too much with that short yardage.
I know. Yeah, it's amazing. Who was your, did you have a childhood favorite player when you were growing up that you looked up to?
Yeah, I think I did. I mean, a couple. One in particular because she knew my dad, Amy Alcott. My dad, I think this guy he was either a good friend of Amy's or like her manager or something. I'm not sure what that connection was. But then, so my dad knew him. They were, my parents were members of Bel Air Country Club in LA, and this guy was a member there. So I always like, because there was some little connection. So I always enjoyed watching Amy play, and she's such a character and such an outgoing person on, very engaging with the crowd. And so I always liked that. I loved watching, like Jane Blaylock, Joanne Carner, Haney, some of the, Judy Rankin. My dad used to tell this story about Judy Rankin when she was pregnant, playing in St. Louis, where in the summer at an open. Or so it's St. Louis in the summer, it's hotter than blazing. And her husband, Yippee, was walking behind her, like supporting her as she was walking up these hills, because I guess she was fairly pregnant. So it's like little stories like that my dad would tell me. And then, like you make connections that way. And, I always enjoyed watching those guys. And fortunately, I was able to play with the people that I idolized. For a good bit. I mean, I got to play with Judy, and I mean, probably one of my favorite personal memories was at a U.S. Open. I was in the top 10 going into the 3rd round, and I got to play with Kathy Whitworth, and I was like,
wow,
oh no, what am I going to do? And my mom was there. She was crying when they announced us on the tee box. It was such a great day. I mean, it was just, I was terrified and excited and nervous, and I had fun. I mean, it was awesome. But yeah, all those, those older players who paved the way for, me and everyone else who's come beyond, from me on. So it's pretty exciting to see those guys.
Yeah, I had a similar moment. I got to play with Patty Sheehan and it was not even a competitive tournament. It was just a pro-am.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm playing golf with Patty Sheehan.
She's so
and I
nice.
I watched her on TV in Sweden growing up with her knickers, and I was like, wow, that's amazing.
That's so exciting. Isn't that exciting?
It is. It's so inspiring, and it's just like knowing that, somebody that you looked up to, being, I don't know how old I was, maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. It was pretty fabulous.
Yeah. I know that's awesome. I love that. And Patty is she's so nice. She's such a great
Oh,
gal. I really
I don't
like.
think I remember anything she said, but it was just her demeanor and her grace and her friendliness. Oh my gosh. So like I'm a bigger fan now, than
Yeah,
I think I ever was as a kid, so
that's so cool. I'm going to see her this week. I'm going to tell her.
oh, I'll tell her that story. That's fine. Yeah, I saw her in the desert and chatted with her a little bit, but she's a gem. So.
Yes, totally. I'm 100%. I'm right on board with that.
Yeah. All right. Any other stories you want to share? Any
No, I don't think so. I think we covered up.
Okay.
I got to save some of my material in case we have to do this again.
That sounds awesome.
Although, yeah, I'll show you. This is my new thing.
Oh, poodle mom, that's great.
Two big standards.
Oh, those are smart dogs.
They're smarter than me.
I love dogs.
I know. These guys are great.
Yeah. There is two other questions I have for you.
Sure.
And the next one is there anything you would like to recommend? Is there a book? Is there something that you know?
You know what? Yeah, actually, yeah, there is. And I'm not 100% sure how you get a hold of it. When you're fooling around on the internet and all of a sudden you're like, oh, something pops up. You're like, that's so interesting. How did I get here? But anyway, it's through the Golf Channel. But since we touched on the fitness angle, they have like little snippets of workouts for, and there's actually golf, I saw one with Stacey Lewis, and I'm like, oh, I think I need to try that. So it's kind of cool. I mean, I would recommend if you have any interest in kind of getting some golf specific kind of exercises, to check that out.
Okay, cool. That sounds like a great resource. Is there anything else? If you were, just starting out as a teaching professional, is there anything that you recommend?
I would say, well, I think you were at this thing that Shirley Spork did, when we were at the teaching division. I think that it's really important to pay attention to what somebody who's been in the teaching division for a long time. I'm not discounting the younger players who are so, energized and really active. I mean, I love that as well. But I think sometimes it's really important to kind of pay attention to what the people who came before us did and how they teach, because it's totally different. I mean, the way people teach now and the way it was taught even 20 years ago, I mean, it's really changing. And I think it's kind of interesting to see. I thought it was kind of inspiring to watch her, teach Lada. I thought that was kind of interesting. And, and also you're standing there listening and you're thinking to yourself, okay, now what would I say to Lada? I'd say, your swing is perfect. I don't need to mess with anything here. Don't mess with perfection. But I think it's kind of interesting to, if you're watching somebody else teach, to think about what you might be touching on if it's different than what you're hearing.
Yeah, and for those of you who weren't there at the team championship in December, we had the absolute pleasure of watching Shirley Spork teach a live lesson in front of an audience, all of us, other teachers. And the guinea pig was nobody else but Lieselot Neumann, one of my other childhood heroes. So that was fantastic. And I also thought it was really interesting to see Shirley, the questions that she asked. And I was like, wow, I loved it. I thought it was so interesting because I think Shirley's point was that even if you have a player who is, at that level, figuring out like what they do and how they do it so that you can help them when they get derailed. I thought that was such a great point.
Yeah.
Not just trying to like fix them or like try to like make them do something else, because obviously what Lada does already is like awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, your point, finding out like kind of what's in like what was in Lada's head, when she was hitting shots, and like because I think Shirley was asking her like, well, what did you think about that? Like, how did you hit that one? Whatever. And then hearing Lada, what she was thinking, and then like Shirley would add something to it. But exactly to help. It's important to be able to help whoever, and it doesn't matter if it's a tour player, or, you know, a 25 handicap at the local club. I mean, you have to help them help themselves. And I think that's really, it's so hard. I think that is one of the toughest things as instructors that we have to do.
Yeah, I had somebody asked me the other day how I would approach teaching a tour player. And I said, you know, as a new teacher, I mean, maybe, I don't know, when I just started out, when I stopped playing 7 or 8 years ago, I would have been scared to teach a tour player. I would have been not comfortable doing that. Yeah. I was like, well, I just played, but I would have been very, I think, uncomfortable and not particularly confident about it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you know, looking back on your experience, it's very different. I have a very different outlook on that. And what Shirley was showing in that lesson, I thought was really empowering, because it really means that it doesn't mean that you have to be a tour level type player to teach a tour player. Mm-hmm. So just because the tour player needs, they're already pretty good at what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like reinvent the wheel, but really figuring out like, okay, what are their intentions? What are they thinking about?
Right. It's like making like those little refinements and, you know, and it's like the corrections that I think you make that one makes, you know, with, high level players, you know, not even necessarily tour players, but I mean, you know, like you've worked with like a single digit, like low single digit, you know, I mean, they sort of know, they have a good idea of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you're just, you know, smoothing the edges, I think, a little bit. And it's a different type of lesson for sure. I mean, I think that there's different things that you teach good players than you do with your, you know, not as good players.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I'm teaching a tour player right now, and he just got through like first stage of qualifying.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really awesome. And then he didn't get through a second stage, but still, you know, that's more than most.
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, you know, like what are the things that he's thinking about, and I see myself, you know, like the things that I went through as a tour player in him too, and the things that he's bringing up, and you know, so much goes back to the confidence and like and how, you know, remembering the good shots and not putting so much value on the not so good stuff.
You know, if we could have like a magic pill for that, that'd be like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think you can take your own, you know, like your experiences for sure, and you can relate, you know, for him. And it's because it's hard to play at a high level. It's really hard.
Yeah, it is. And when you think about it, and you know you've been there, and for yourself, you've been out there for a long time. It's even more impressive. No, but it's even more impressive, and it's that's a lot of experience to be able to help somebody at that level as a caddy, and just to be around that for so long. So
yeah,
very cool.
Excellent.
Who do you think I should interview?
Okay, yeah. So I was really, I was bouncing a couple of names, you know, in my head, and I've decided on Kelly Spooner.
Yes.
So I'm bouncing you. So, you know, you came down south for me. Now you're going back up, you know, little east of you. But I think Spoons would be an interesting choice.
Great. I am very much looking forward to asking her some questions. That'd be great. I know she has a lot to share. So.
Yeah, she's got a lot of stuff going on up there. I think it'd be really interesting. I look forward to hearing that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun talking with you today.